On this episode of View the Right Thing, Wes, Desi, and Alexis discuss the moving film adapted from the memoirs of a father and son whose family is torn apart by addiction, relapse, and recovery. Steve Carell, Timothée Chalamet, and Amy Ryan head up the cast in what is sure to be a film that will be racking up nominations during award season. It's Beautiful Boy, here on View the Right Thing.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of View the Right Thing. I'm here with two lovely ladies. Say hi, ladies.
Hi, ladies.
All right, nice. So I've got Desiree and I've got Alexis. Alexis, who are you?
I am Alexis.
We figured we've gotten to the bottom of it.
Yes. That's all you need to know. I am an actor and a seamstress and a singer, and I do all the things.
You have your own podcast?
I do have my own podcast. It's called I'm Not Weird, You're Weird.
That's the best name. It's way better than View the Right Thing.
I just came up with it randomly.
Yeah. Oh, man, we spent weeks trying to figure out our podcast name. We went through iteration after iteration, and Steve to this day still calls it the wrong thing. So,
well, for the first year, it was like kind of a thing for you to be like, "Welcome to," and then Steve would just say immediately say the wrong name.
We almost went with Indiana Jaws for our podcast name. So Steve likes to say Indiana Jaws a lot, but he's kind of gotten off that train for a while.
Nice.
So I'm glad.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. When my podcast mate and I, we were
born for
talking.
podcasting.
Born for podcasting. We were like, yeah, we should do a podcast together. And when we figured out what it was going to be about, I was like, what about I'm Not Weird, You're Weird?
So what is it about?
Oh, it's about obsessions.
Okay.
And
Like paper eating and...
Paper eating, OCD, extraction videos, ASMR.
So you have a couple episodes already out, right? What are they about?
So the first one, we actually touched on our personal obsessions. So I have a thing with extraction videos. It's very calming to me.
I don't know what extraction videos are. Is it gross?
To some people it is.
Okay.
But it's like when you're watching a video of people getting their pores cleaned.
Oh, okay.
And some people have like really gnarly
I'm uncomfortable
pores.
already. I don't know how.
And her obsession, she loves watching parkour videos.
Those are like two completely different...
Totally different.
ends of the spectrum here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But like, for like me watching those make me anxious. Whereas for her watching extraction videos makes her anxious.
Oh yeah, I'm anxious thinking about the extraction video, and I don't even really know what it consists of. So.
If it makes you anxious, don't look it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
And then the second episode was ASMR.
I thought ASMR. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I thought when you were saying extraction videos, I thought it was going to be like taking things out of people's bodies, like like tapeworms or something,
or like what's
bot
that?
flies.
Yeah.
Bot flies. Don't look at a bot fly video. Those are that'll make you real uncomfortable.
I don't even know what that means.
It's like a larva that burrows in your skin.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And they're really big and gross.
No, that like there's an M word that I just can't say, but that's like the beginning of flies.
Oh yeah.
I can't say that M word because it freaks me out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, so we've gotten off to a really, really strange start. You know what? Something I don't ever do on this podcast anymore because I just figure this is like our 4th season, so I figure people already know. But we probably have new listeners, so I probably should say again what we do. Yeah. So we watch movies and then we talk about movies. The end. Yay. So normally we like to tell people ahead of time what movie is we're going to discuss, and then that way they have an opportunity to see it before the episode comes out. Because we're right at the beginning of a season, we haven't had an opportunity to do much of that. We just did Bohemian Rhapsody and First Man.
Mini episodes.
Shorter episodes. And then now we have our first full episode of the season is with Alexis. So cool. That's exciting. Steve and I, in a few weeks, will have 1941, Steven Spielberg's 1941 with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. That'll come out. Sorry, I got a little something in my throat.
Getting a cough drop?
I blame Alexis.
Why are you blaming me? I've been sick all week. Why are you blaming Alexis?
Because she choked on her water earlier, and it's like sympathy.
Like a subconscious
thing.
Sympathy jokes.
Yeah. No. So, since you're new, the first question is, have you seen anything in the theater recently that you would want to share?
I saw Bohemian Rhapsody.
What did you think of Bohemian Rhapsody?
I loved it so hard.
Why?
Gosh, well, I didn't really know a lot about Freddie Mercury's life. I didn't know that he was originally named Farouk. I didn't know he wasn't not British.
Right.
Yeah.
Like to me, he passed as Caucasian.
Sure.
So I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool to learn about his life.
Right.
But also, like, to know that he was in love with this woman. Like, I'd always known, Freddie Mercury died of AIDS. So that just automatically means he's gay.
Right. I mean, not right, but right. I understand
But, right.
The assumption that you make,
Yeah. So I thought that was really beautiful that he had this woman that was his soulmate.
Yeah.
And that they were friends forever. I thought that was really lovely. And also, I have a lot of gay friends, and the whole AIDS epidemic, and I know people that are HIV positive, and it was just, it made me kind of sad that that's what people had to go through.
Right.
And even, I don't know, it was very emotional for me, being able to, I don't know, I guess see it talked about in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting too, like having grown up in the 80s and the 90s, what it was like for us, like health class, and hearing about the epidemic. And then nowadays I feel like it's kind of invisible, right? Like, because you can live, you can still live. Like then it was kind of a death sentence, right?
Yeah.
Now you can live if you're HIV positive. So I wonder sort of about young people that maybe were born in the 90s seeing this movie, and like I wonder if they're surprised by what happens in it or not.
Oh yeah. Like when I was little, when I was 3, we went to New York to visit my aunt, and I wanted to kiss all of the cab drivers because I thought it was so nice that they were driving us around. I didn't know, but I guess at that time they didn't know how it could be contracted. And so my mom was terrified.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
There was a
She
lot of
didn't-
like misinformation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, can it be contracted by kissing someone? And so she was like, don't touch anybody we don't know.
Also, small child, stop kissing random strangers. Maybe that's another concern. I'm assuming you were a small child. I don't know. Maybe you were a teenager. I don't know.
No. I was very little. I just loved everybody, so I
No,
wanted
that's all right. It's good to love people. So you like the movie. We both really enjoyed the movie as well. There's users can go back and listen to our previous episode, the mini episode, and hear our thoughts on that. But yeah, I really liked the movie. I thought Rami Malek was incredible.
So great.
Yeah. And did you catch Jurassic Park references in it?
No.
I feel like there was at least 2.
Yeah.
Well, now we're not in the spoiler show. Well, the mini episodes are spoiler friendly. With this one's not as spoiler friendly, so I don't really want to give away. But I caught. We'll tell you later. I caught what I think are 2 Jurassic Park references, because you know that the kid from Jurassic Park is in the movie, right? The bass player that they get after the fact is the little boy from Jurassic Park.
What?
Tim, the human piece of toast.
Wow. No,
Yeah.
I had not even realized that.
Yeah.
That's
he doesn't look the
wild.
same. He doesn't have the goggles anymore, and
Yeah.
He doesn't have goggles anymore?
he doesn't have like a
Those are
little...
not a permanent part of his head?
He
Yeah,
looked familiar, but I couldn't really I didn't know why he looked familiar.
That's probably why.
He was
That's
a
wild.
kid, yeah.
I mean,
Vegisaurus.
I did like the Wayne's World.
The Wayne's World nod.
Reference. Yes,
Yep.
yeah.
That is one of my favorite moments in the
Yes.
movie. Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Des, how about you? Have you? I mean, you've basically been doing these podcasts with me the last. Anything that you haven't been on a podcast about recently that you've seen?
I mean, I know we've been watching stuff here at the house. I'm trying to think what.
We went and saw Nutcracker.
We did see Nutcracker.
We didn't do it. We decided not to do a podcast on that one.
It was fine.
That's kind of how I felt. It was okay.
Yeah. There's a moment where where Sugar Plum eats part of her cotton candy hair, which I think
spoiler!
is hilariously
Huge
funny.
spoiler!
Huge spoiler.
Massive spoiler.
It's just really funny to me.
It's a clever moment. I'd like to say, since we did bring it up, that I don't feel like it's worth a $10 ticket.
No, it's like I said, it's okay. But
yeah, I mean, I guess if you were by yourself, maybe it's worth $10. But if you were taking your kids and your family, like if there's 3 or 4 people, that's $30 or $40 or more, depending on how you see it.
I'd
if you see it in
almost
3D, it's more. If you see it in Dolby, it's more. If you see it in IMAX, it's more.
Yeah, I'd almost say like if they do like one of those Fathom events of the actual Nutcracker, see that instead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. Actually, I think the ballet is more what you're wanting out of it. Like you just didn't really get what we know and love of the Nutcracker in this film.
Yeah.
There's the music is there a little bit, but I would say the majority of the movie does not have the music from the Nutcracker. And there's dancing at the beginning that's not ballet. There's like, they go to a ball or a big party, and so there's people are dancing at the ball or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's one ballet sequence in the middle of the movie, and then after that, there's no.
But
dancing.
One of the characters keeps talking during it, which is really distracting
that's true.
to me.
That's true.
It's super weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think it was disappointing.
Yeah.
But
what else have we seen?
Halloween we saw.
Oh, we did
that was
see
last
Halloween.
month. I mean, we've seen a bunch of stuff. We
No,
don't have to go over a bunch of things.
I'm just trying to think. I know we've watched stuff at the house recently.
Yeah, but we don't really talk so much about the house stuff.
Well, we watched.
You really want to get something out? Dead air.
The Strangers one.
Three Identical Strangers.
Identical Strangers.
Documentary Three Identical Strangers.
Really interesting.
Excellent. And then you didn't know anything about that.
I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah.
I won't
spoil it, but it's very good.
Yeah. I almost don't even want to really talk about the premise because I think the less you know about it, the better it is. So we can talk to you about it after.
Yeah,
in fact.
Please.
Okay, so
Excuse me.
we all went and saw a movie today. We saw some trailers, and maybe you've seen some trailers prior to this. Maybe you saw some of Bohemian Rhapsody. Anything, Alexis, that's coming out that you're really excited for?
That starts with an M.
Oh, Welcome to Marwen?
Yes.
Yeah, with Steve Carell.
That looks really interesting.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting what they were going to say because it said, directed by or like from the makers of Forrest Gump.
Oh, yeah, Robert Zemeckis.
I love Forrest Gump. So,
Right.
like I saw that in the theater 3 times.
Oh yeah, I saw it a couple times too.
So
Yeah.
like that was 9 hours of my life.
Sure.
Right, yeah.
To that movie.
It's based on a documentary. There's a documentary about this. This is a true story, and the documentary is called Marwen Call, and it's about this guy, Steve Carell's character.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. I've been excited about that for a while.
Yeah. I think that's the most that I'm
When you're most excited about
of the trailers that they showed.
Yeah.
We're gonna see A Private War.
I don't know if I want to tease
But we're
too
gonna
much
talk
about the
about
podcast. Yeah.
So yeah, we won't.
Maybe just bigger picture. Like I'm excited for If Beale Street Could Talk. I'm extremely excited for Roma. I'm really excited for The Green Book.
Yeah.
The Green Book's coming out.
really good.
So bad.
Widows is coming out really soon. I'm really excited about Steve McQueen's new movie with Viola Davis. I'll see her in anything. I'll follow Viola Davis to the ends of the earth. She's really strong about pay equity.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she should get paid more than her male co-stars, not the same.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I think she's like a truly special actress.
She's magical.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about The Favorite.
The Favorite. So I was trying to keep you from that trailer
I know.
so it'd be a surprise for
But
you.
I'd already kind of seen a little bit of it, and
I knew it was going to be up your alley.
I'm pretty excited about
I
that.
turned and looked at her after the trailer tonight, and she just
I was
nodded
like,
her head.
Yeah.
You excited for The Favorite?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
That's good. Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz.
Yeah.
And what's her name?
Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman. I love her so much. She's so good. Did you watch Broadchurch?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love her in Broadchurch.
Broadchurch. Have you seen The Lobster?
I didn't see The Lobster. So it's the same director.
Oh, is it?
It's the same director of The Lobster and Killing of a Sacred Deer. I've seen Killing of a Sacred Deer, but not The Lobster.
Oh, that makes sense because Rachel Weisz was in The Lobster as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yorgos Lanthimos, I think is his name, or something to that effect.
Okay.
It's got a really cool name, but yeah. So, yeah, the favorite. Anything else? My hands are antsy tonight. I'm just like tapping the table and cracking my knuckles.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we saw something else, but those are the ones I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that brings us to Beautiful Boy. Are you guys ready to dive into this one?
Yeah.
Let's dive.
Okay. So, Beautiful Boy, Steve Carell, and Timothy Chalamet. I don't know how you say his name. I guess. Is that it? That's okay.
Yeah.
Chalamet. And then who I loved in Call Me By Your Name.
Oh my gosh. So good.
Yeah. Made me such a huge fan of his. Amy Ryan and Maura Tierney, who I think is like a very underappreciated actress. She should be used way more than she is.
Yeah.
So it tells a story of Nick Sheff. It's a true story based on a book by Nick and his father. Can't remember his father's name now. David Sheff, thank you. And it's about Nick's struggle with addiction, being addicted to heroin and crystal meth and alcohol and
cocaine.
I think he LSD he mentions at one point. It was weird because it seems like it should have been a heavier film than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get into that a little bit, but what was your initial impressions? Like, did you enjoy the movie?
Yeah, I thought it was very good. Excuse me. Remember all three like
We're like, sorry, Beasters.
No, I thought it was very good. I kind of went into it thinking I'm probably gonna like cry and like totally lose it, and I didn't. I mean, I definitely got a little like, choked up at the end.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it was that annoying girl with her cell phone distracting me
Yeah,
that
well,
kept me
I
from
feel
getting
like-
too emotional.
Well, I think it might have been my design, but what would you think, Alexis?
I was definitely expecting to cry a lot more than I did.
Yeah.
I didn't actually tear up until the
At the
end.
very end, yeah.
When they were sitting, so there's a little bit of a spoiler. At the very end of the film, they're sitting next to each other in those chairs. Did they really say anything to each other?
I don't think so.
I thought that was a really prime moment for them to say everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was like, that's kind of what we were missing was, and maybe by design, the movie is told in a like completely non-linear way. You're jumping all over the place in time. The beginning of the movie starts and then it goes 1 year earlier, and then it goes to like when he's a kid, and then it comes back to maybe present or maybe 1 year earlier. It just kind of bounces all over the place.
Yeah.
You're never 100% sure exactly where you are. I suspect that maybe that was done specifically to not be cliche with a movie about drugs and addiction.
Yeah.
And to not provide a schmaltzy, over like melodramatic portrayal of what happened. I think one of the things that did work for me, at least, was that it felt very real. Now, I don't know much about addiction, but I know a little bit about the human condition, and the portrayals of the father and the son felt very real. More Turney in the movie, she has a moment where she tries to intercede and then quits, and feels, I think, sorrow and loss over that, and that felt very real to me. So while I feel like it could have driven home a lot of points and been like really, really powerful, it didn't necessarily. It doesn't necessarily bother me that they didn't, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There were aspects of it where, like, so we're doing spoiler alerts.
Sure. I mean, we're trying to get too spoilery, but it's okay because
there's an aspect where I think the makeup department could have done more.
Oh, okay.
At the end.
Oh, sure.
Because he looked pretty normal.
Yeah.
For having
gone so far off the deep end.
Yeah.
Like his hair looked great. I want his hair. Timothy Chalamet has some beautiful hair.
Yeah, he does.
But you know, when someone abuses drugs for a really, really long time, you'll get these like lesions on your skin, and they touched on it that one part with his lip.
With his lip, yeah, I saw that too. Yeah,
but
it's still pretty minor.
Well, and I did notice that they did show his arms were pretty.
But most of the time, he had a long sleeve shirt on, which I'm sure was, I'm sure he's
trying
to hide it,
of course.
But yeah, when they did show it,
but like I think they could have screwed up his teeth a little more, and I don't know, like
that's the thing that people say. They say about smoking meth, right? Is that you lose your teeth, or you have teeth problems. Although that didn't seem to necessarily be the drug of choice in the film. Do we ever actually see him smoke crystal meth?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we mostly just see him injecting for the most part, or smoking something. I guess he smoking something in a paper, but never like. I don't know how you smoke crystal meth.
I don't either.
Do you inject crystal meth? I don't know.
No idea.
Maybe that wasn't heroin. I don't know.
Oh my god. The brown was heroin.
That.
But there was some that was like white, clear, sticky stuff. That could have been crystal for all I know.
Maybe.
All right, viewsters that are know about this, feel free to tweet at us or send me an Instagram DM. So, did you feel like? Let's just take Timothy Chalamet for a minute. Do you feel like his performance rang true of an addict? I mean, maybe you don't know, maybe you don't have enough experience with addicts, or.
It's interesting because he's very young. You know, like for me, I feel like most of the former addicts that I've come in contact with throughout my life have been much older than me, so I'm not always familiar with like how that affects you, like when you're doing it or when you're younger. So that's, I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to say personally.
Yeah. Well, it's really tough for me. Okay, so just for clarity for the listeners, I've never drank, I've never done drugs, so it's, for me watching these films, it's strictly about, does the performance move me, not how accurate is this portrayal. I think I've become accustomed to like being able to pick up when people are faking drunk pretty well, like because that can get real cartoony and bad. But especially drug stuff, like I don't know. So I mean,
I think there definitely were some times where like he would get violent or like aggressive
outbursts. Yeah,
I think that seemed pretty accurate as far as I know. Like, I don't know that I've had that direct experience, but
I'm in the program for alcohol, and I, without divulging too much because it's anonymous, but I have seen people who are younger, and they're like, some of them are really new to the program, and they're angry. So I think that he did when he was in the diner and he met his dad.
Okay.
I thought that was really, like, I think he did a spot on job.
It felt authentic to you.
It did. Yeah.
Interesting. It was a very moving scene. It's like you just want to just like reach out and just be like, let him help you.
I know.
So then talking about meetings then, you I feel like you said you wanted to talk a little bit about the way they portrayed the meetings on that, and I'm curious to see if, because you both have been to meetings, probably very different experiences. So I'm curious to hear if. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with Alexis and see, because this is very interesting to me. I have no clue.
So I know that the other people that were sitting in those meetings were extras.
Yeah.
Because they were just sitting there.
Mm.
And it's as if, like, I mean, I know filming takes forever, and you're just like, okay, my face is on the screen, so I'm just going to look attentive. But when you're in a meeting, you feel the pain that the other person is talking about because you've gone through it or something like that. And I wish that they had told the extras that, like, just like listen to the person, because they're all just like facing forward. I don't know. When I go to meetings, we look at the people that are talking,
right,
and like nod our heads, like yeah, totally,
sure.
And it was probably the director's decision to, like, you know, they always have to stagger the seats so you can see the faces. And when that woman was sharing that heart-wrenching story,
mm-hmm.
I was stuck watching the people that had no reaction on their face.
No.
So that was a little hard for me. And when, what's Timothy's character's name? Nick, there we go. When Nick was sharing his story, it was fine. I don't know.
It seemed like what they wanted you to, besides Nick, it seemed like they wanted you to really, like, see the mom and the sponsor. Like, that was sort of what that scene was about.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have any, like, feelings? Did you feel strongly about that, or did you kind of? Are you so used to movie scenes? Yeah.
Movie AA meetings.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's you know, my experience in meetings is very, very different from most people that I know. I have never gone to a meeting because I'm an addict. I've always gone to a meeting because I was with my mother, who was an addict. She, she got sober when I was like 3, a toddler, and I grew up going to meetings with her. So it's really weird because, like, in some aspects, a lot of the times, you know, we were kids and we were just running around, goofing off, and, you know, playing and eating the sugar cubes from the coffee table, and, like, you know, like, being kids. But, like, you know, as I got older, you know, I would sit with my mom and I would listen to the people talking in the meetings, and it was like, it had like a very profound effect on me that my mom was always very open about it. Like, you know, you kind of see it a little bit in the movie with the younger kids. Like, they kind of know what's going on.
Sure.
But, you know, there's not much of a discussion with them about it.
Right.
Like, a lot of people, I think, try to sort of shield children from that. And I think being exposed to it and, you know, hearing people tell these horrifying stories about, like, you know, all the, how they've, like, you know, their lives have been so messed up was probably the thing that kept me from doing that. Like, when I got to high school, you know, I didn't drink any alcohol until after I graduated, but only like 2 weeks after I graduated. But even when I did, like, I always was very careful about it. Sure. You know, I always was like, I know this isn't my family. You know, my mom's not the only one in my family in the program, and I know that can be a big factor. And so I was always very, very cautious about it. I've never done any drugs, you know, and I think that being exposed to that at a young age kept me from following that same path. Right. So it's weird because, like, I have a very different perspective on meetings. So, like, I don't always, like when I'm in a meeting, I'm probably more like those extras because, like, I don't have the same experience. Like, I don't connect to the person talking as well. Okay. But I know that the other people do. You know? Right. So.
So before we move on to Steve Carell and the rest of the family, I want to talk a little bit about the relapse stuff. What little experience I've seen of friends of family members of friends or whatever, it's never ended on. This is a little bit of a spoiler, so warning. It's never ended on any positive note. I think there's some sense of hope at the end of this film, and we get a little bit of post-film, subtitles on the screen that kind of give us a little bit of a happy ending. But I've never seen any of my friends or family members or whatever where this ended as a happy ending. It will almost always ends in somebody dying. So, I mean, what are your thoughts about the portrayal of relapse in this film, and maybe that I got this profound sense of like desperation in him every time he relapses. The when he meets up with the girl, again a little bit of spoiler, when he meets up with the girl and they go to, and he's sitting on the couch, and the day after, and he's crying, that like sort of sense of loss, and or not loss but being lost. Anybody want to?
I think it's it is very, very common to relapse. It's interesting because people say like they used to be an addict or something, but like when I talk to my mother, she's still says she's an addict. She doesn't say I used to be an addict.
Yeah.
She's an addict. She's recovering.
Yeah.
She's never recovered.
Sure.
It's always a process. Like you're always in it. Like she's 25 years sober, and she still goes to meetings. She still has a sponsor. She is a sponsor now. She helps younger people who are in the program, but it's not something that just you have a happy ending and it's gone.
Does it feel like it was excessive in the film? Because it doesn't seem like the movie took place over a long period of time.
Mm-mm.
No, it
Maybe a couple years max, because the kids don't get much older.
No,
Right.
yeah.
So the amount of times that he relapses, goes into the program and kind of falls apart, does that feel...
That felt realistic to me.
Not excessive. Okay.
Because, when I decided to stop drinking, it was for my health. But those first 6 months were so hard. Like, I actually had tried to quit drinking 3 months before I quit drinking. And, I lasted like a week and then drank some more. And then after those 3 months, I was like, okay, I need to stop. And there are those, like, you just want to feel differently. Like, for me, it was a good reason to drink. I had a great day. Let's celebrate and drink. I had a bad day. Let's drown our sorrows and drink. It's Tuesday. Trivia. Let's go drink. Karaoke.
Right.
Let's go drink. And it became sort of a habit. So you have to learn how to stop those habits. And like when he would relapse, like, you're not happy that you did it because you're like breaking a promise to yourself.
Yeah.
Which, like, you start hating yourself for doing that thing that you told yourself you wouldn't do.
Right.
So
not being flippant in any way, because it's not the same, but I get that way a little bit about like food, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
Food
like
is an addiction
I
too.
know I'm not supposed to eat, a Big Mac or whatever, and I do it anyways.
And then you feel like
But
shit
I-
afterwards.
Sometimes, but that's the thing. But that's the thing is, like, sometimes I do them, and sometimes I don't know. I'm not sure they necessarily explored this. I always wonder if this is how other people see it too. But sometimes, once I've broken it, I'm like, well, I already broke it, so it doesn't matter now, right? Like,
Yeah.
stopping won't fix that. So,
Yeah, no, I go through the same thing with sugar. Like,
Sure.
I mean, I have drastically reduced the amount of sugar I eat over the last several years, but even, like, the major thing that made me stop doing it as much was my health. Like, I had to.
Yeah.
And it's you still want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that relapsing is very common, and I think that even I think it's happens more frequently at the beginning, but even 25 years in, you could still relapse.
Sure.
Absolutely. I know a woman who was sober for 15 years and then had an oops, and then the oops extended for 6 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you have to make that decision that you're like, no, I don't want to do this. I need to do this for myself.
Yeah, it has to be.
So how does that work? Because it's like I've made that decision a bunch, right?
Right. Yeah.
To stop to like I'm not going to eat fried food anymore, and eventually I still eat French fries or whatever. So how does that work? Like, I've heard people say, well, you have to be the one who decides. And I think they explore that a little bit in the film. There's a really, I thought, to me, was a very powerful moment when Steve Carell is like, I don't know how to fix my son. And Mauritania says, you can't. Like, and this,
himself.
right, this idea that he has to want to do it. But I think throughout the film, he does want to do it. So it's like, what does that mean? Does he just change his mind that he wants to do it? Or...
Well, I mean, I think that, you have to decide that you want the help.
Right.
It's not that you don't need the help or that someone can't help you. It's that you have to decide you want the help.
But you don't think he wanted it throughout the film?
No, I think he absolutely did. But then I think you go through these things where you're like, well, I'm fine now.
Oh.
And then,
Fair enough.
a little while later, you're like, well, maybe I'm not actually
It's
fine.
like people who are on like medication for schizophrenia, like,
yeah,
oh, the medication's working, so I stopped taking it because I'm cured. And okay,
I've been through that exact thing with my depression. I'm like, well, I feel great, so I don't need this medication anymore. Well, no, you feel great because you're on the medication.
Because the medication's working.
Because the medication is working. You're not cured.
Totally.
You're not...
Like I have an autoimmune disorder, and when I moved here, my prescription ran out, and I didn't have a doctor out here, so I was like, I'm just not gonna take the medication anymore. I'll be fine. And it was super bad. Like my thyroid levels dropped, and I became super depressed. And I'm not a depressed person, but like when you can forget like how great you can feel, and you forget like how you used to feel.
Yeah. I think
so
you also forget how bad you feel when it gets bad. You're like, no, I'll be fine, and I can get through it, and it's.
Yeah.
So let's shift over to the family a little bit, because this is the thing I thought was really interesting about the movie is I thought Timothée Chalamet drove the film. His performance, and this is another reason why I think the nonlinear thing and the sort of pulling those powerful moments away a little bit, stepping back from that. I think that's why maybe it was intentional. I don't think this movie was about Nick Sheff. I think this movie was about the family. I think this is a movie for families. And for people who, because they don't spend a ton of time with Timothée Chalamet as a drug addict and the things that he's going through. And the questions that I'm having, they're not answering those questions.
Right.
They could have answered those questions by having the camera stay with him.
Right.
They chose not to do that. And so I think the movie is very much for people who are not just family. I mean, yes, family in a specific way or a different way, but people who love addicts, people who love people who are addicts. I mean, that feel kind of how it was for you guys, or do you feel like it was like 50-50 or?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it is hard to be the family of an addict, and I think they do touch on that a little bit, that the dad and the stepmom go to an Al-Anon meeting, which is specifically for family members of people who have addictions. This is a support group not for the addicts, but for the family of the addicts, or for the friends of the addicts, or wives or boyfriends, whatever. Like if you have an addict in your life, that's the meeting that you go to.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people don't know that that's even exists.
Yeah. I don't think I realized.
Yeah, like I can you know, my mom has talked to me about it before. She'll be like, you know, you can go to a meeting.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's because she knows how hard it is, you know. Like I said, we have other people in our family who are addicts, and it's hard to see them go through that stuff and to feel like you can't help, like even if you want to and even if you try to, you know, it's not always, they won't always let you help. And so I think, you know, having a support group is necessary.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, Steve Carell does a really good job in the movie of kind of going through that, like, I want to help, but I don't know how to, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a couple of moments where it's interesting to watch him sort of like break apart and go somewhere really big emotionally, because you don't see that a lot. Usually with Steve Carell, when that happens, it's like funny. So to see him do that while watching this character like lose his son essentially, was, I thought, like really beautiful to see him do that in this film.
Yeah. I think Steve Carell, for this and probably Marwan, will probably get a couple of award nominations this season. Yeah.
I would think this, for sure. I don't know about I mean, we haven't seen Marwan yet, but I mean, I have high hopes for Marwan. But you never really know.
Until you see it, The trailer looks great.
And there's a lot of like really great performances this
absolutely.
year. Amy Ryan in the film, also probably underused, but she, of all of the characters in the film, felt the most true to me. The sort of the mom who's kind of separated from everything, and their arguments over the phone and stuff. It all felt very honest. It was a little bit weird for me because I'm a huge fan of The Office, and like those two characters. So like I'm like at the very beginning of the movie, I was like, okay, so Michael and I forgot her character's name, but Michael and this character, they moved away from Dunder Mifflin. They had a baby that didn't work out. They split up. Michael marries Maura Tierney. It felt weird for me at first, but she's so.
Sorry, I need to get a drink of water.
God, what's the word for her? For Amy Ryan? Oh, good catch. The phone's. Boy, what's a good word for Amy Ryan?
She was so honest.
Just everything is just it, and actually, really similarly, Timothée Chalamet. They both just seem like it's effortless. Like it feels like that's who they were or are. Oh,
phone's it's just sliding.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think she did a beautiful job, and you know, I kind of expected her to be physically be in more of the film.
Yeah.
But with the few scenes she was in, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And being an actor, I can get pulled out of scenes sometimes if it just doesn't seem genuine. Mm-hmm. And I believed that she was his mom and that she cared so hard, and that both she and Steve just wanted the best for their son. It was really it was heartbreaking.
It was the movie to me felt more about the performance than anything else. And I think that's probably the biggest criticism I have for it, is that maybe things that could have been more interesting storytelling wise or visually kind of went by the wayside to give the actors an opportunity to give the best performance that they could possibly give. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I like the movie a lot, but because of the performances.
Yeah.
I wasn't entirely a fan of how it began because I didn't know the characters well enough to understand why he was saying it like that.
Yeah. Well, you mean the conversation he has at the very, 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 very beginning with the guy that you don't see at first,
Yes.
Timothy Hutton's character?
Yes.
Yeah, but I will say, I thought they must know that because they played that scene out in its entirety later on.
Yeah.
Instead of just like cutting to it and going, oh, okay, we're back here.
You
And then
saw
cutting
this,
somewhere
yeah.
else. Yeah, they let that scene play out and you actually get to see Timothy Hutton now.
Right.
And I thought that was, I think they knew that. The question then becomes, is that a good device for this kind of a film? Again, I feel like these decisions were definitely intentional, maybe to, I said definitely, but maybe to, again, make it more about the performance and try to like root it in things that people can understand. I don't know, like, again, like someone like me, like, I don't know how well people will understand addiction when you're staying with the addict all the time.
Right.
I think some filmmakers have done it well. Darren Aronofsky comes to mind, Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah.
But even that is like, there's only so much that you can tell people that they can get. Like, oh, they'll do anything for the, like, there's a scene in the movie where he goes to talk to a girl standing on the side of the road and she says, well, most guys ask me for a blowjob. And it's like, yeah, I've heard that before. That's like and in some ways that's like the least true thing of the film, right? Because you see it, not that it doesn't happen, that you see it all the time, so it just is another thing in a movie. Whereas them trying to console the kids maybe is not something you see, or you see more Tierney chasing him down in a van and then choosing to give up and let him go.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the kind of thing you see in these films, and that's, I think, what kind of made this movie very different from others.
Right. There was a moment where I was worried that they were going to glorify drug addiction when Steve...
Oh, yeah, you talk about that. Yeah, it's a spoiler.
Okay. Spoiler alert, Steve partakes in... I'm guessing...
I think it was cocaine.
Cocaine.
Yeah.
But his reaction to it made me think it might have been crystal meth. I don't know if you can snort it. I don't know.
I think I think it was cocaine, and I think it was... Remember, the girl had told him that crystal meth was like cocaine times 5,000.
Yeah.
And so I think the idea was, well, what's the cocaine like? Okay, it's this times 5,000. And when it cut to later on, he had like clearly been up all night doing things. Yeah. So I thought maybe it was cocaine. Like, papers were all over the place. He was laying on the floor. Music was on. I just assumed it was cocaine. I don't know. Yeah. Never done cocaine, so yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that they kind of touched on a couple of things. I feel like with that scene, I wasn't 100% sure if because he kind of talks with Nick earlier in the film about, you know, himself experimenting with drugs when he was younger, you know. So I wasn't sure if he was trying to understand what his son was going through, or if he was having a relapse himself, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not sure I picked up on an idea of a relapse thing, because
and you know, I think that he definitely, it's interesting because, like I said, you know, addiction can definitely be hereditary.
Sure.
Sometimes I think circumstance can make it easier for you to start doing it.
Yeah.
But the addiction is always a possibility. Like it can be in your genes. I don't know that he ever was an addict.
Yeah.
So I wasn't 100% sure if it was like he was an addict and he's having a relapse. I feel like
they would have. I feel like they would have talked about that if that.
Like,
was
I
the
think
case.
it would have been more obvious.
I think he was at a loss of how to connect with his son and how to find his son, and he was at, like, this is as, like, how far am I willing to take this?
Yeah.
And you know, am I willing to do everything that I can do in order to get him? And I think that was sort of like how far he could take it. And it was around then that his thinking and how he treated Nick changed.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to wrap this up real quick. But I'm gonna do something that we don't. This is a heavier podcast episode than normal.
Yeah.
We usually stay more in the movie. Since it's your first time, we're usually more in the movie and more talking about the filmmaking aspects and trivia and stuff, which we're not really going to get into. But since we talked about something heavy, like there's probably somebody listening to this that's an addict. So what do they do?
Well, I mean, I think this movie kind of takes place, I think, probably in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes, I think it's probably fairly accurate for Nick Chef's age, and
Right.
also he's in like middle school. He's listening to like Nirvana and stuff.
Yeah. So, I feel like now it's a little bit easier to find resources online than it might have been then. I mean, like his dad, goes out of his way to like go meet with people to try to learn about it. Like he does find some stuff online, but I think it's easier now to find those, helpline numbers or
So we want to look one up real quick.
Absolutely. Like where a meeting
Alexis
is
on it.
So at least in that respect, I think it's hopefully a little bit easier to find who can help you.
Yeah.
But absolutely,
Alexis is going to find one. We'll say it in the
Yes.
podcast. You can also tweet at us or DM us
Absolutely.
On Instagram, and we can give you the number there as well.
And also,
I'll throw it in the Instagram post as well.
lean on the people who are close to you. Like, don't be ashamed to reach out to your friends, family, anybody. Anybody. Literally anyone.
Absolutely. I found it. It's the SAMHSA's, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services National Helpline. It's 1-800-662-HELP.
Huh.
So 662-4357.
Nice.
Also, if you have a cell phone, there's an app that is called Meeting Guide, and it will show you every meeting in your area.
Yeah.
You can plug in your address.
Speaking of plugging, do you want to tell us your Twitter or Instagram or something so that way people can find you?
My Instagram is LexiLou711, so it's LEXYLOU, and then the number is 711. Twitter, I'm Lecus, LECCUS. That's a nickname my mom gave me.
Oh, okay. You want to plug any type of Instagram?
Sure.
Instagram. You got a great design,
Yeah.
interior design
Yes,
thing going on.
it has nothing to do with movies or addiction, either one. But
Sometimes you do movie theater. Sometimes you do movie
That's true.
sets.
Yes, I do talk about movie sets occasionally, especially like anything that's super, super colorful or crazy or fantastical. I love talking about that stuff. But my Instagram is Blueprint Betty. I think my Twitter is the same, but it's usually just reposts from my Instagram. So.
That's true. And then, of course, you can get us at VTRT Movies, either Twitter or Instagram. We also have a Facebook page. You can always message us there, but most people, Instagram seems to be how people are talking to us.
Yeah, that
These
seems to
days,
be
the new go-to.
yeah.
Not doing Snapchat, sorry.
No.
Again, I know it's a heavier topic, but if you are struggling with something, just reach out to us or to someone you know or anyone. And in the meantime, we will see you in another episode. Bon Cinema.